In the previous session, we had a look at how to set up outbound marketing segments. Here, we'll have a look at how to do real-time marketing segments. We'll go through the process of setting up the segment, how to add the various attributes that you have access to, how to set up groups in those attributes, and then also how to add related entities to your segment query. So I am in real-time marketing. Under audience, I've selected segments, and I'm going to go and click on new segment. The first thing that you'll see here is that I need to name the segment, and then I need to choose my target audience, and the target audience is either a contact or a lead. So we're going to stick to contacts here, and I'll just give this a name quickly. Although the name should be descriptive of this segment, I'm naming the segment, but I'm going to mess around with the segment a little bit. So at the end, our members might not be only active members in this particular list. So click on create, and you'll see on the right hand side the segment builder collects all of the available tables for us to build this. So the target audience table comes up first, that's our contact, and then all the related tables there. And you'll see account, organizations that are associated. Then I've got a couple of events tables that are available. If I have customer voice installed and set up, I can use the information from customer voice. And so on, and also lead related information, my lead scores if I've set that up, marketing pages, and so on. Right. So first off, let's start with the target audience. So in contact, we want the active contact records. So once again, there, I'm just going to go and do a search for status. You saw this in the previous video. So in my status, I'm going to select status. Of course, if I'm not so lazy and I type in the full status, you'll see that I actually get status available. Okay, so when I click on that, it adds that as a group, and my status is, and I need to select a value there. So the value that I'm selecting here is active. So I'm looking for that. Then in my group, I'm going to add a subgroup here, and I'm going to look for some attributes that I've added here. So from my essay list, I'm going to look for a language preference. I'm going to click on the language preference there, and you'll see that it gives me an option to add to the existing group. So group 1 or group 1.1 allows me to do that, or I can add a new subgroup from here as well. But for now, we're going to add to the group 1.1. So we'll add to that. Okay, so language preference is, and let's say English. Let's add another one there, and we'll say member, add to existing list, group 1, and in this case, my membership is no. Okay, so active contacts, where the language preference is English and the membership is no. Right, once I've set up my query here, I can go and click on refresh at the bottom just to see how many members I've drawn into this list. So I go and click on refresh. You'll see it calculates a size, and it picks up 6 members. Just to show you, if I go and remove these two, just going to go and remove those two quickly, and you'll see it's simple enough. I click on the more button, I click on remove, and I'm just looking at the active contacts. So if I do that, you'll see that my pool of active contacts is 154. I'm just going to add back those subgroups. All right, so we're back here. The contact status is active, the language preference is English, and the membership is no. Now that gives me 6 members. Okay, if I change the relationship between the different criteria, you'll see at the moment I'm using an AND grouping. So if I go and change that to OR grouping, in which effect any of these statements can be true, you'll see that I basically come back with all of my members. Depending on how you group your clauses together, you'll get exclusive list or inclusive list. Okay, so I'm just going to set that back to AND. Right, so that's my first way of setting up my query. So let's go and look at another way of achieving the same outcome. It's going to remove those groups. Right, we've got our active contacts. Now, from our list, we've done our search for essay. I'm going to add the language preference. And this time, just from this side, I'm not going to click on add subgroup. I'm just going to add item, and I can choose here to add to existing group, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to set that up. And once again, we'll go for English there, and I'll add the membership as well. And this really is just another way of getting to the same outcome. Once I've set that up and I click on refresh, you'll see that I get my 6 members. So not much different there. And as you would have expected, if I go and change my grouping here, and I go and click on refresh, once again, I sit with the whole set of members because of the way in which the clauses are grouped together. Right. So go back to that. But you better believe you'll know when it's there. True story. I must have been searching. Just a reminder here, once again, of some of the functionality that I have in terms of my operators. I'm going to add a subgroup here. And in my subgroup, I'm going to add doctor type. And I'm going to add that to my group 1.1. Okay, so I've got 1.1 there. So in this case, I'm going to select a couple of different doctor types that I have here. So where SA doctor type is, I'm going to select the is in once again. So is in will allow me to do a kind of like a all grouping. Is not in will do a all grouping as well, but it simply says any contact that is not one of these doctor types. So I'm going to select is in. So in this case, any contact that is one of these doctor types. And I'm going to select physician and student. Here we go. So we've added that in there. We go and click on refresh, and I've got 4 members. Okay, I can do that in a different way. So let's just quickly look at this. I'm going to add a subgroup once again, and my attribute is going to be doctor type. And I'm going to add that to 1.1. There we go. So that's physician. And then I'm going to add to this a subgroup. I'm going to click there on the more button, add a subgroup there. And in this case, I'm going to go to doctor type once again, go to existing group, and this time I'm adding into the group 1.1.1. And here I'm going to say student. So same kind of selection that I just had. And I'm going to change the all grouping there at the top, or the grouping there at the top to all. Click on refresh, and I should say get those 4 same members. So a different way to achieve the same grouping to get to the 4 members that I have there. Wasn't trying to get my numbers up. You know I keep it cool. I prefer to stay in the one last one. I'm going to add another subgroup here. We're going to go to a related table. So in this case, just going to clear that. I'm going to do a search for email. I'm looking for the email field. In account here, I've got a email field, and I'm just going to select email there. I'm going to add it to a existing group, and the group that I'm adding to is group 1.2. Now, because I am looking at a field in a related table, I need to specify the relationship. Am I looking at the contact account relationship, or am I looking at the contact lead account relationship, depending on how the record was created? If I have a contact that has a lead history with it, or a current lead for a contact that is associated to an account, I can go and use that path to go and find the related account. On my customer voice survey response, if I'm looking for an account associated with a contact that made a customer survey response, I'd be able to go and use that relationship. For us, we're looking at account contact, a direct relationship here. So we're going to select that, click on next. Then we need to go and look at the attribute. Now, the attribute here is the relationship between account and contact. There has to be a field on those tables that link up the account and the contact. So on the contact, there should be a reference to the account field. On the account table, there should be a reference to the contact field. So what is that field that I'm looking for? So in this case, we're going to select company name. Company name is the field that indicates which account the contact is associated with. Primary contact would have been the primary contact for a particular account. So if that contact is marked or added as the primary contact. So for us here, we go to company name, click on set path. That'll set the path for me, and then I can go and complete the statement there. So here I'm going to say if that email field on the account is empty, so does not contain data, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so that would complete my query here. So at this point, I'll go and click on save. Once I've saved, the next step for me would then be to mark this as ready for use. So I'll go and click on ready for use. Marketing will then step through and go and find all of the members that meet these criteria and are available in the segment. Okay, so there you have a quick overview of how segments are set up in real-time marketing. So if I click back here, you'll see this is getting ready. So status is getting ready there. So if I click back there, so once this is done, it'll then indicate that it is published and ready to start using. Now that we've set up the segments, next up, let's go and see how to build the journeys.
You might get what you ask for, so you better be sure.